Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to get into chapters 22 and 23 of the Tale of Despereaux. It's actually the last two chapters in the second part of the book, so we're about halfway through. We're also going to do our mindful practice at the end of the video, and we are going to continue with our thoughts on gratitude. Remember, yesterday I asked you to think about 3 things that you are grateful for. So we are going to continue with gratitude for our mindful practice today. But first, let's get into Despereaux. Chapter 22, he puts his heart together again. Roscuro hurried from the banquet hall. A rat, he said. He put a paw over his heart. I am a rat, and there's no light for rats. There will be no light for me. The king's men were still bent over the queen. The king was still shouting, Save her! Save her! And the queen was still dead, of course, when Roscuro encountered the queen's royal soup spoon lying on the floor. I will have something beautiful, he said aloud. I am a rat, but I will have something beautiful. I will have a crown of my own. He picked up the spoon. He put it on his head. Yes, said Roscuro, I will have something beautiful. And I will have revenge. Both things, somehow. There are those hearts, reader, that never mend again, once they are broken. Or if they do mend, they heal themselves in a crooked and lopsided way, as if sewn together by a careless craftsman. Such was the fate of Chiaroscuro. His heart was broken, picking up the spoon and placing it on his head. Speaking of revenge, these things helped him to put his heart together again, but it was, alas, put together wrong. Where is that rat? Shouted the king. Find that rat. If you want me, muttered Roscuro as he left the banquet hall. I will be in the dungeon, in the darkness. Chapter 23, Consequences. There were, of course, consequences of Roscuro's behavior. Every action, reader, no matter how small, has a consequence. For instance, the young Roscuro gnawed on Gregory the jailer's rope, and because he gnawed on the rope, a match was lit in his face, and because a match was lit in his face, his soul was set afire. The rat's soul was set afire, and because of this, he journeyed upstairs seeking the light. Upstairs in the banquet hall, the Princess P spotted him and called out the word rat. And because of this, Roscuro fell into the queen's soup. And because the rat fell into the queen's soup, the queen died. You can see, can't you, how everything is related to everything else. You can see quite clearly how every action has a consequence. For instance, if, reader, you will indulge me and allow me to continue this meditation on consequences, because the queen died while eating soup, the heartbroken king outlawed soup. And because soup was outlawed, so were the instruments involved in the cooking and eating of soup. Spoons, bowls, kettles. These things were collected from all the people of the kingdom of Dor, and they were piled in the dungeon. And because Roscuro was dazzled by the light of one match and journeyed upstairs and fell into the queen's soup, and the queen died, the king ordered the death of every rat in the land. The king's men went bravely into the dungeon to kill the rats, but the thing about killing a rat is that you must first find a rat. And if a rat does not want to be found, reader, he will not. The king's men succeeded only in getting lost in the dungeon's tortuous mazes. Some of them, in fact, did not ever find their way out again and died there in the dark heart of the castle. And so the killing of rats was not successful. And in desperation, King Philip declared that rats were illegal. He declared them outlaws. This, of course, was a ridiculous law, as rats are outlaws to begin with. How can you outlaw an outlaw? It is a waste of time and energy, but still, the king officially decreed that all rats in the kingdom of Dor were outlaws and should be treated as such. When you are a king, you may make as many ridiculous laws as you like. That is what being a king is all about. But reader, we must not forget that King Philip loved the queen, and that without her he was lost. This is the danger of loving. Making soup illegal, outlawing rats, these things soothed the poor king's heart, and so we must forgive him. And what of the outlawed rats? What of one outlawed rat in particular? What of Chiaroscuro? In the darkness of the dungeon, he sat in his nest with a spoon atop his head. He set to work, fashioning for himself a kingly cape, made out of a scrap of the red tablecloth, and as he worked, old one-eared Botticelli Rimorso sat next to him, swinging his locket back and forth, saying, "You see what comes from a rat going upstairs? I hope that you have learned your lesson. Your job in this world is to make others suffer." "Yes," muttered Roscuro, "yes, that is exactly what I intend to do. I will make the princess suffer for how she looked at me." And as Roscuro worked and planned, the jailer, Gregory, held tight to his rope and made his own way through the darkness, and in a dank cell the prisoner who had once had a red tablecloth and now had nothing, spent his days and nights weeping quietly. High above the dungeon, upstairs in the castle, a small mouse stood alone one evening, and as his brothers and sisters sniffed for crumbs. He stood with his head cocked to one side, listening to a sweet sound he did not yet have a name for. There would be consequences of the mouse's love for music. You, reader, know already some of those consequences. Because of the music, the mouse would find his way to a princess. He would fall in love. And speaking of consequences, the same evening that Despereaux stood inside the castle hearing music for the first time, outside the castle, in the gloom of dusk, more consequences drew near. A wagon, driven by a king's soldier and piled high with spoons and bowls and kettles, was making its way to the castle. And beside the soldier there sat a young girl with ears that looked like nothing so much as pieces of cauliflower stuck to either side of her head. The girl's name, reader, was Miggery Sow, and though she did not yet know it, she would be instrumental in helping the rat work his revenge. And that is the end of the second book, so we will learn more about Miggery Sow when we return. But let's get into our mindful practice. So we are going to do a guided relaxation. We did one a week or two ago, so this will be similar, but it is a little bit different. And let's get started. I invite you to close your eyes, breathe, and rest. As if you're falling asleep, let go of all thoughts. Just feel your breath. Release any movement and tension. And when you're ready, we'll begin our relaxation. As you relax, notice how you feel and what is going on in your mind right now. Acknowledge what it is and how it is impacting you. Without trying to change anything, focus your thoughts on someone or something you are grateful for. Imagine that you are doing the thing you love or being with the person you love. Fill up your thoughts and your inner vision with that thing or person. Experience fully how much you are grateful you have that thing or person in your life. Enjoy your daydream, making it as real as you can. Now notice how you feel and what you are thinking about. What feels better, to be in your head or in your heart? Grumpy or grateful? Do you have a choice of how you relate to things and how you feel? Take a moment to just think about those things and what you are grateful for. Now, gently begin wiggling your fingers and toes. Take any final stretches that feel nice to you. And when you're ready, you can bring your attention back to me. So I hope you guys enjoyed that guided relaxation. I know it's a little bit different when we're sitting at a computer or an iPad or something like that, but I do hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you here soon.